Good morning, everyone. This is Anish Gupta, and I'm here on behalf of the National Law Training Institute. Today, we have among us Abhinav Somani, who scored an amazing All India Rank 1 in both CLAT and AILET 2023, 2022. 2023, right? Yeah, CLAT
2023. Yeah.
B. So he'll be talking about his CLAT preparation journey, what all sources did he refer to, and what is his advice for the future CLAT 2024 aspirants, and what was his strategy throughout the time he prepared, and do not know whether he prepared for 2 years or 1 year or whatever. So I'll be talking about that. This session will mostly be academic oriented. We are not endorsing any coaching or NLTI specifically. This is only for future aspirants references, so that they can refer to what all material Abhinav referred to and what is his advice for the future aspirants. So Abhinav, beginning this interview, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? For how long did you prepare for CLAT? Which coaching
Mm.
were you in, and what was your strategy, like how many mocks, and also what, just an overview of your CLAT preparation.
All right. So I picked the humanities stream in after class 10. My preparation began in June 2021. I was in two coachings. I was in Career Launches 2-year classroom program, and alongside that, I was selected for Legal Edges Super 30 batch. So I was enrolled in these two coachings. My preparation began in June 2021. And I mostly referred to material and mocks from these two coachings itself, nothing external.
Right. Yeah. So did you give CLAT 2022 also as your dummy attempt? Like most of the aspirants want to give a CLAT prior to their main attempt. So were you also one of them who gave CLAT 2022?
No, but I really wish I did. Like a friend of mine did, but I was worried ki, Arey, what if the consortium finds out? What if something goes wrong? So I found out ki they actually encourage you to give the
Yeah.
paper.
This time they were very active on Instagram, and then they said that they encourage you to
Yeah,
give CLAT. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I would encourage all aspirants to actually give the paper because it's really helpful because you know what the final day will look like.
right, great. So, Abhinav, we'll begin with this question firstly. That you said you were in the classroom coaching program. So, do you think that online coaching or an offline coaching makes a difference in the way you go about preparing for CLAD? And which one do you think? You were both in LE Super 30, that is online, and CL's
Yeah.
classroom, that is offline, essentially. So, which one do you think is really better, going for offline classes or preparing at your own convenience, in an online program? So which one do you think is better?
Well, actually, I did not attend any of Legal Edge's classes really. I just gave the mocks and the sectional test topics, the study material, and all that. I attended career launches offline classes, but on a personal note for me, I think offline classes work better because when my preparation started in 2021, it was online for the entirety of 2021, and I found it difficult to really get interested. For me personally, offline classes work very well because it helps me take a greater interest in the subject. But to each his own. I think for some people it might be that they prefer doing it at their convenience. But for myself personally, offline classes work the best. But this will vary with each person.
Right. Thank you for that. So, Abhinav, since CLAT and now ALET also for that matter is very reading extensive, and you need to go through 30 passages to complete the paper. We are not talking about accuracy at this point. So, how do you go about increasing your reading speed and also your comprehension ability simultaneously, so that you at least get to attempt the full paper, and not talking about accuracy? So, how do you suggest improving the reading speed and also the comprehension abilities? Consider that you are talking from a CLAT 2024 aspirant's point of view, who is just starting out after listening to your interview, who is just motivated to give CLAT 2024. He is not an avid reader. He has not read any book till now, and he's just starting out. So how should they go about their CLAT preparation, specifically reading speed?
I would suggest begin with the newspaper. So I read two of them, the Hindu and the Indian Express. So I would just suggest begin with any one of any newspaper. Like just pick it up and read it daily. So set a target for yourself. For example, when I began reading the newspaper, it took me around 2 hours to complete the Hindu. So eventually I set a target for myself. Okay, today I will do it in 1 hour 50 minutes, 1 hour 30 minutes. This way, eventually, I brought it down to 1 hour. So the first most important thing is to just read the newspaper daily, make it a habit, and make the newspaper your Bible. Read it daily and religiously because that is quite frankly the most important thing you can do in your entire preparation. So read the newspaper daily. If you feel that you need to increase your speed, then set a target for yourself. Ki, I will finish the newspaper in this much time today. Set a timer to it and do it. Then even suppose you are practicing at home, then you can set a timer that I will finish this passage and these 5 questions associated with it in this much time. So I think setting a timer works amazingly. And apart from the newspaper, just I would say read whatever you get your hands on because CLAT is just 2 hours of reading. That's all there is to it. So you have to read as much as you can. So if you have never read any, if you're not a reader, I would say don't be worried. You don't have to start with the big books, all the big names which you have heard of. You can just start with anything you find interesting. So just pick up any book. If you find a cover appealing, just pick up and go through the book. It doesn't have to be, the big names with the huge words whose words even English teachers do not
Yeah.
know. So just pick up what you find interesting, read through it, build up a good reading speed, and gradually move on to more difficult texts. Don't force yourself. Just
Right.
be consistent with it.
Yeah, so we are talking about books. So Abhinav, like most of the clad aspirants would want you to name drop a few books they should begin their reading like journey with. So if you could like name drop 2 3 books that you think should every beginner should start with.
Um, you can, for example, one of my favorite books even today is Alice in Wonderland. It's very
Hmm.
easy, but it's incredibly interesting, and I love reading it. So you can even begin with children's books. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, for example, a few authors which you can read to build up your interest, Ruskin Bond, even Chetan Bhagat, if you find that thing interesting. So
Definitely. Yeah.
just don't think about the quality of the literature. Ki, nahi yaar, if I tell someone I'm reading Chetan Bhagat, they will laugh at me. Don't think that way.
Yeah.
Just pick up whatever you find interesting and read it. So I would suggest starting with Ruskin Bond because he writes stories for everyone, for children as well, for adults as well, for young adults. So just pick up a few of his stories and read through them. They are very simple. Even Sudhamurthy. Even Sudhamurthy writes very
Yeah.
simple but appealing stories. So you can begin with a 2 or 3 simpler authors and then move on to the more difficult texts from there.
Right. So Abhinav, I'm gonna ask you a very stupid question. I also know it's very stupid, but this deserves an answer. So a lot of students text us that, Bhaiya, what should be the ideal time to complete the newspaper in? Bhaiya, I'm taking 3 hours. Bhaiya, I'm able to finish it in 30 minutes only. But should I give more time? Like, should I bring it down to 1 hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hour, or should I take it upwards? Like, should I spend more time reading newspaper? What do you think should be an ideal answer to this question?
Okay, so for me, near the end of my preparation, it was around an hour for the Hindu and around 30 minutes for the Indian Express. So in the Indian Express, I only read the editorials, the explained page, and the ideas page. I think it's called the ideas page. So I used to read these 3 things in the Indian Express, and for the Hindu, I read the editorials and whatever news items I found important. I think that those people who are taking too much time in reading the newspaper, what happens is they are unable to understand what news is important and what news you should just leave. So I think the best way to remedy that is to just give mocks, because as you give mocks, you'll understand ki, ha, these sorts of questions are asked. So you will ultimately, so gradually you will begin to understand ki, okay, this news is important and this news I can just leave. There's no need to read this.
Right. So now you have referred to mocks, so we'll directly jump to mocks. So Abhinav, how important is the mocks aspect in one's CLAD preparation journey, and what do you think is the ideal number of mocks that one person should give? And also a linked question to this. So if if an aspirant is just starting out their CLAD 2024 journey. So should do you suggest that they should begin giving mocks from the January month itself, or should they like work on their fundamentals, their verbal section first for the 3 4 months, and then start giving mocks from May onwards? What should be an ideal strategy for
Mm.
this? Yeah.
All right. So for me, I personally gave around 70 to 80 mocks, I would say, throughout my preparation. I gave my first mock in December last year. So I began with one mock a week. I did not pressure myself too much. I began with one mock a week, and eventually, I think by September or October, I increased it to 5 to 6 mocks a week, basically almost every day.
Yeah.
So yes, giving mocks is very, very important, but equally important is analyzing the mock. What I used to do once upon a time was ki just I gave the mock, I checked my score, and then I just kept it to the side. I was very lazy in analyzing it. I thought, ki, yaar, what's the point? I have checked my answers. Now I know where I went wrong. But but analyzing the mock is just as important as giving the mock. So give the mock, analyze the mock, and then find a frequency that suits you. For example, this worked for me. I gave a mock and analyzed it on the same day. So I was able to manage 5 to 6 mocks a week. But if you find that you are not able to, if you're not able to do, if you're not able to give and analyze the mock, then you can reduce this frequency. Or if you find you can do this with an even greater number, then do that. It I think it works personally for each one. And as to your second question, I would personally suggest ki first just work on your fundamentals a bit and then begin with the mocks. Like not even till May, just maybe for 2 or 3 months, just work on your fundamentals, give sectionals, solve all your practice booklets which you have, and begin with mocks after that. Or you can begin with mocks from January itself, because even in that you are just practicing the sectionals, right? So either works, but I would personally prefer just mastering your fundamentals first and then working onwards from there.
Right. Abhinav, so you mentioned in the very beginning that you started your preparation in June 21. And now you just now said that you gave your first mock in December 21. So what did you do for the first 6 months? You focused on your verbal sections, the fundamentals. Or you gave sectionals also, but you didn't give a mock. So what was your mindset during those first 6 months of your preparation?
CLAT was entirely new to me. So at first, I just went through the course material which was provided to me. I solved some of the course material. Then I strengthened my concepts. I understood what a premise is, what a conclusion is, what is an argument, and all these things. Then some basic legal theory, mens rea, actus rea, torts, contracts, all these things. I worked on my fundamentals for the first 6 months. I built up a good base, and then I started giving mocks in December. So the first 6 months, my mindset was just okay, first I'll build up a good base, and I'll begin giving mocks after that. Once I have at least a basic grip of what CLAT is, of what I can expect from a mock, and I can refine that further after I begin giving mocks.
Right. So, Abhinav, when an aspirant gives so many mocks, like beginning from January and giving mocks continuously till December, there would be a lot of instances where they are scoring the same mock score in every like 5 to 6 mocks and even decreasing. Like you score 90 today, tomorrow you score 80, then 70, and then again it jumps to 90. So there's a sort of stagnancy in mock scores. So did you also face the same sort of stagnancy in your mock scores, considering you were giving mocks from December 21? So it's almost an year that you gave mocks. So, and if there was such stagnancy, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I did face a stagnancy after a time. My scores weren't increasing beyond a particular level. So what I began doing was I started writing down all my mock scores in a copy, like along with the sections, the attempts, and everything. And then after writing down a new mock score, I used to look through the past 4 or 5 scores and just analyze is there a section where I am consistently underperforming, or is there a section which I am consistently unable to attempt? If I was not able to understand it myself, I used to ask for help from my friends or from my faculties. They would point out key, okay, this is where you are lacking. Maybe you can work on this. So just write down all of your mock scores and look at through your past 4 or 5 mock scores to understand which section you are weak in. For example, for me it was often GK since I was somewhat weak in GK. So when I found out ki okay, I'm going weak in GK, then I used to revise GK. If I found out ki okay, I have been unable to solve percentage questions in QT for the past 3 or 4 mocks, then I used to go and revise percentage, just revise up the formulas and everything. So write down your scores and go through them. If you are unable to find a pattern, then ask for help from someone, preferably a senior or a faculty, since they have gone through what you are going through right now and they can always help you.
Right. So Rishabh Shivani in one of his sessions suggested that we can take hit and trial method. So you can hit the particular point, like you know that your assumptions are weak. So you can work on your assumption, conclusion, inference for like next 3 days continuously, and then give a mock and see if if a question comes from assumption or conclusion, inference, and you are able to get it right. So you can also follow this hit and trial method, hit where it the paper wants you to hit, and then see if that is working out or not. So to aspirants, alongside what Abhinav suggested, you can also try this hit and trial method. Like, see where you are lacking, hit that particular point for the next 3 days, continuously work hard on that, and then you might be able to see a better result. Abhinav, so coming to GK, you also said that GK is a subject that haunted you for your preparation journey. So, how did you manage to overcome GK? Were you able to manage? Were you able to overcome it finally or not? GK was quite unpredictable for the 23 exam as well. So, did it throw you off in the paper? How did you make notes? Were the notes online or offline? What was the entire holistic strategy for GK?
All right. So for GK, I read the two newspapers, as I told you, the Hindu. I made notes. I made online notes from the Hindu, like just I copied and pasted whatever I found important. And for the Indian Express, I used to make paper and pen notes from the explained section. I would highly recommend the Indian Express explained section to everyone. I would say it's amazing. It very comprehensively covers everything. So please go through that. And in compendiums, I used Career Launchers Monthens as well, along with these two newspapers. But for GK, the truth is that I was very lazy with it. It I just never wanted to revise. So this is very shameful for me to say. But I began my GK revision on Tuesday and ALET was on Sunday. So I would thank my stars that ALET's GK was easy, or it would have gone badly. And well, I got doubly lucky that CLAD's GK was unpredictable. So those who could have gotten an edge over me in the GK were unable to get it. So no, GK haunted me right till the very end. And the only thing I would recommend to future aspirants is don't put off GK. I used during my preparation, I was thinking कि अरे GK हो जाएगा. I'll do it in the last few months. It is not that much, but believe me, until when you begin revising GK is when you realize कि just how much it really is. So don't put off GK for the end. Be very consistent with it. The thing I would suggest is make a GK schedule. Ki I will finish this month's GK in this week, this month's GK in the next week. So make a schedule for GK and be very, very consistent with it. Never put it off for the end because it does not work.
Right. Abhinav, you mentioned in the passing that you made notes of topics that you found important. So a lot of aspirants
Yep.
face this dilemma: which topic is important, which topic to leave, which one is a relevant topic for CLAT, and given CLAT's unpredictable nature for 22 and 23. So how do you identify that this topic can be relevant for me or not? If you think that every topic is relevant, then it will be a long list of topics that you need to make notes on. So what was your strategy on identifying important topics?
Um, any topic which is asked in a mock, I automatically took that to be important. Since if it is being asked in a mock, then obviously it is very important from a CLAT perspective. And apart from that, just any topic which you have been seeing consistently for the past few days. For example, you're seeing it in the newspaper. in the just a typical news around you, you're hearing conversation about it. You just understand ki, ha, yaar, this might be important. If so, if any topic has appeared consistently in the paper for 2 days, 3 days, and obviously if it is not like the sensational news wala topic, then you can definitely then you can consider it to be important. Just if there is a topic which came in today's newspaper and disappeared tomorrow, then don't consider it to be all that important.
Right. Abhinav, your main piece of advice for GK is to not leave it till the end. But there will be a lot
Yeah.
of aspirants still who will have a GK backlog till the time they reach September or October this year, and then they want to revisit your video, this present interview, to to seek advice what you said about GK backlog. So coming to the question of GK backlog, if one has a GK backlog in the month of September, let's say they have not done they have covered the initial months like enthusiasm, beginner enthusiasm. They have covered January, February, March, but then they went dormant for the GK section, but worked on the other sections, and now they have a considerable amount of GK backlog in September 2023. So how should they cover the backlog that they have, and how should they go about it? What should be their sources for GK backlog? Uh, Preparation.
Um, if you have a backlog, then I would say just stick with the sources which you already have. Do not add any new sources, because in GK you will think, yeah, I can do this as well, I can do that as well, I can do this third source, this fourth source as well. So in GK, right from the beginning, you should just be confident with your sources. Add a source only if you're very sure ki, yes, this will be helpful. And if you have a backlog, then just please stick with what you have. What I did personally was I just did the last 6 months GK because I realized ki I do not have enough time to do the past entire year's GK. So I just did the past 6 months of GK and hello. Yeah, so I just did the past 6 months of GK and
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I just did the past 6 months GK, and for I guess what you should do is just make a schedule for GK. Like apart from your normal study schedule, keep a separate GK schedule. Ki, this much has to be completed. I have to complete this month today, and I will not sleep before doing that. So just plan it out very well. Be very systematic with it. That's all I can suggest.
Right. Abhinav, so since you are also a fresher and you are also appearing for boards exam this year, 23, that is. So how did you manage your class 12th as well as CLAT? Did you take med leave from school, or did you regularly attend school? So what was your strategy of balancing both class 12th and CLAT?
So I would say that I was fairly regular in going to school until the Diwali vacations. I went to school very sporadically after the Diwali vacations, only when it was necessary. But before that, until I was going to school consistently, what I used to do was I used to wake up early each morning and read both the newspapers before going to school. Then I got home at around 2. I took a half an hour nap since I used to be very tired. And I studied from 2:30 onwards. So I woke up early to compensate for the time I was losing in school.
Right. So if you started studying at 2:30, when did you used to give your mock tests? On weekends or weekdays? So how did you work that out? Mock tests with school.
Hmm. Mock tests usually used to be in the afternoon or evening. Like after I had a study group, me along with four of my friends. So the five of us used to plan when we were giving a test, and we just then either met up at a coaching center or at someone's house and gave the mock. So it was always planned the day before. Ki we will give the mock from this to this time today. And then we met up at that wherever it was, and we gave the mock. And accordingly, and sometimes we just planned it in such a way that our mock gets over, and we have a classes immediately after that.
Hmm.
So we planned it in such a way that we have a class immediately after the mock. So that was a optimal utilization of time.
Right. Abhinav, could you take us through your subject specific strategy? What were your sources for CR, QT, legal, and English? And did you give sectionals, or did you focus more on the mock test only and practicing questions? So, if you could take us through subject specific strategies, like talking about different subjects differently, separately. Yeah.
All right. So for English, I did not have to put in that much effort since it is my strong subject. I have been a reader since childhood, so I did not have to put that much effort into English. I just acquainted myself with the various the those kinds of questions such as what is the profession of the author, what is the tone of the passage, and some higher level of vocabulary that is sometimes asked. So for vocabulary, which quite a lot of people find difficult, what I personally did was I used to write down whatever new words I found, which I was unacquainted with in a notebook. So I used to write down the word, its meaning, and its usage in a sentence. And just a second, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah. So I used to write down any new words I came across in a notebook, the word, its meaning, and its usage in a sentence. And if it had a very common etymology, which I felt would be useful in other places as well, I used to write down that etymology as well. So that often helps you guess the meaning of the word. And another thing is, obviously, you cannot remember the meaning of every word. So you should just try to know the what the connotation of the word is. Does it have a positive or a negative connotation? If you know that, then it is more or less possible to guess because then you can deduce from the options. If at least you know what the connotation of the word is. Is it a positive? Does it have a positive tone or a negative tone? So for English, I really did not give any sectionals. I just whatever I gave in the mocks. Um, then for GK, as I mentioned earlier, Hindu, Indian Express, and career launches months. And just
Did you not refer to?
um, sorry,
Did you not refer to CLAT post?
no, I did not refer to CLAT post.
Okay.
Then I just looked through some online sources as well. For example, Press Information Bureau, Drishti. Like, Drishti IAS, just I looked through it from time to time, but I did not make notes of it or anything. And yeah, I gave some online current affairs quizzes. That was all.
Right.
Then for legal reasoning, uh, I relied mainly on mocks for it. I did not give any sectionals. Or, I mean, this is all that I'm mentioning is after the December period when I began giving mocks. And up until then, I did give all these sectionals and everything. But after December, when I began giving mocks, I just focused on giving mocks because that was good enough practice for it. So for legal reasoning, my strategy per se was to just be acquainted with the basic theory and when I used to read the passage, I tried to underline as little as possible. I just underline the principles and the facts. So that makes it much easier because a lot of what is given in the legal reasoning passages is just useless. You have to identify what is useful, underline only and only what is useful, and that makes it much easier to solve. If you read the entire passage over and over just to answer a single question, that is a huge waste of time. And another thing is, I think most people tend to get tired in legal reasoning because you have eight whole passages in it. So to combat this reading fatigue, my mock my my strategy of solving was I used to begin with English and I did GK simultaneously. So after English and GK were done in about 25 to 30 minutes, I used to switch over to QT. I did one set of QT in around 5 to 7 minutes, after which I came back to legal reasoning. So my mind had by then your mind has a break from all the reading and it is ready to begin reading again.
Yeah.
So I then after that I solved all the eight legal reasoning sets in a row. And then which took around 35 to 40 minutes, I would say. Then, if I had time left, I would go to QT again and solve another set before coming back to logical reasoning and then going to the last QT set. But if I was short on time after legal reasoning, I just did logical reasoning in line with it. And then whatever remaining time I had, I gave it to QT.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you follow
So
the same sequence in
this
CLAT also? Because QT was quite difficult in CLAT 23. So did you follow it the same sequence or you tinkered with it?
No, I did the same thing. After legal, I immediately did logical since I was somewhat short on time. And then I think I had around 10 minutes remaining at the end. I gave those to QT.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
coming to your
so for
CR strategy now. Yeah.
so for legal, just underline as little as possible and underline only what is important, and half your problem gets solved there. Um, and while it is helpful to acquaint yourself with the basic theory, it is really not necessary because the answer will be from the passage in front of you. If anything, just acquaint yourself with some basic legal vocabulary that will help you.
Right.
Then coming to logical reasoning, I did give quite a lot of sectionals for logical reasoning, since in the beginning it was very difficult for me to get a hang of it. I used to overthink quite a lot. Like I used to overthink about each option twice or thrice. Here, author can also mean this, author can also mean that. So I think the main trick to logical reasoning is to just not overthink it. I think most people get very, very worried in logical reasoning. Here, author could also mean this, author could also mean that. So
Yeah.
do not overthink logical reasoning at all. Just while reading the passage, try to understand what the main point of the author is and get a sense of the connotation of the passage. If you understand the main point and the connotation, then half your problem is solved. Because uh, for me personally, the best way to solve logical reasoning is to just eliminate from the options. So do not overthink. Try to understand the main point. And well, to put it simply, there is no shortcut for logical reasoning. It is just the more you practice, the better you get at it. So just practice, practice, and practice until you get the hang of it, and then you are set for that.
Right.
And coming to QT, I would say most people are afraid of it. Even I was, and I still am a little afraid of it. So for QT, just the thing is, don't be scared of it. So the maths which you are scared of, the maths which you have learned in school, that is not the mathematics which the consortium is asking you. They are asking you just simple arithmetic, right?
Yeah.
Ratio, proportion, percentage, averages, data interpretation. These are the basic things which you have learned in school. This is not the mathematics you are scared of. This what happened with me personally was when I first found out कि you have 15 marks of mathematics as well. I genuinely thought of just dropping CLAT. I thought मेरे बस का नहीं है अब.
Mm.
But I later at there I thought to myself कि कोई नहीं 15 marks. How does it matter? यार I leave it. But eventually I realized कि QT really is nothing to be afraid of because they are not asking me the QT which I am scared of. They are asking me basic arithmetic which I am good at. So I think if you get rid of your fear of QT, half your problem gets solved there. And after that, just acquaint yourself with the basic concepts, practice as much as you can, and just think of numbers. For example, what I did was when I was on my way to my tuition class, I just used to look at vehicles around me and add up the numbers on their number plates or subtract them. Or if I was feeling very courageous, I used to try and divide them. So just get comfortable with numbers. You don't have to love maths. It's only for the next 1.5 or 2 years, which you have to just be comfortable with it. There's no need to begin loving maths. Just get comfortable with it and you'll do better. So be comfortable, acquaint yourself with the basic concepts, and be comfortable with numbers. That's all I can say for maths.
Right. Abhinav, there's a question in the chat box. Were you a part of co-curriculars in 12th like Model United Nations or anything else?
Yes, I was. In fact, I organized and I was the Secretary General of an MUN conference in my school. So yeah, I was part of MUNs, but all this was before the Diwali break, nothing after the Diwali break.
Right. So the next question will pertain to this only. What about a day in your life, like a day when you will not go to school and will fully focus on CLAT? Could you please share about that? This is a question in the chat box.
All right, when I did not go to school.
Yeah.
Okay, so before going to sleep, I used to plan down what I would do the next day. So I just used to write it down and put it up on my board in front of me. Ki I will do all this tomorrow.
Hmm.
So on days when I did not go to school, I used to wake up at around 6:30. Then I just used to proceed with whatever I had planned. So in the mornings, I I always began my day with reading the newspaper, regardless of whether I went to school or not. The first thing I did was always reading the newspaper. So after reading the newspaper, I used to take a short break, and after that, whatever I had planned, maybe analyze a mock. If I am not doing well in a particular section, maybe just give a section, give sectionals, or ask my faculty, get any doubts cleared if I have them. Or I typically used to give mocks in the afternoon since I thought, even CLAT is held in the afternoon, so that is the best time to give it. So yeah, I really did not have a set schedule. I just whatever I had planned, I just used to do whatever I had planned the previous day. But I took breaks after every 3 to 4 hours of studying, around 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. I used to drink coffee or listen to music or take my dog for a walk or just take a nap. I would say that's the best way of
Yeah.
taking a break. Just have a nice half an hour sleep. It will refresh you absolutely, and you'll be back and you'll be good to go for studying again.
Right. There's another question. What was your process of improving the marks from 50s to 70s to eventually 110? And also, were you able to finish all the sections within the ideal time limit? What was your first mock score, a passing question,
Um,
if
my
you remember?
first mock score was 66, I think. It was a
Right.
very, very easy mock. So I scored 66 in my first mock. And then my process of improving is to just analyze the mock because when you begin giving mocks, you make quite a lot of very, very, very silly and very avoidable mistakes. So if you just work on those avoidable mistakes, your score will almost double there itself. And after that, it's just polishing out all those other sections where you are weak. For example, as you said, suppose you're not good at assumptions or you're not good at inference or conclusion or main point, premise, whatever you're not good at, just work on it for 3 days and then give a shot at it. So
Right.
after that, like first, it's just avoiding all the silly mistakes, working on your time management, and after that, just polish out and refine your other section. And as for time management, what an ideal mock would look like for me was English in around 20 to 25 minutes, GK in 5 to 7 minutes, legal in 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the difficulty, logical in 20 to 25 minutes, and QT in 10 to 15 minutes. I normally had around 15 minutes for QT throughout the entire mock. And on the final CLAT day, I was not able to stick to this very neatly defined uh, division
Hmm.
because English actually took around 26 or 27 minutes for me because I found it to be quite vague this time. Then GK, I was able to do it in 5 minutes. Uh, I think legal took around 45 minutes this time, so longer than I was expecting it to, because I was
Hmm.
just being very cautious with because it's a very scoring area. Then logical took just 20 minutes this time because I found it to be very easy. And then QT, I had around 15 minutes for it.
Right. So, Abhinav, this is a very controversial question, but do you think coaching is necessary to crack CLAT, or one can prepare on his own self study to clear CLAT? What are your views on this question?
Um, okay, so coaching worked well for me because I am a person who does very well. with a schedule. So if I have a schedule in front of me, ki, okay, you have this class today, then this mock scheduled, and this way, that works very well for me. But if there is someone who is very good at studying on their own, then sure, you can do it without a coaching, because ultimately there is nothing which anyone can teach you. It is just reading comprehension. There is nothing which anyone can teach you. Sure, you can learn some basic concepts, but at the end of the day, it is reading comprehension, and there is nothing which can be taught to you. So, sure, you can do it without a coaching, but a coaching worked well for me personally. It varies from person to person. Like if this scheduled lifestyle works for you, then I think a coaching would work well for you. But if you are able to do things well on your own and at your own convenience, then maybe you can do it without a coaching as
Right. Another question we have is, do you read magazines like Economist, New Yorker, along with newspaper? What all other things you refer us so that our reading as well as comprehending speed increase?
well. Okay, so I did not consult any magazines as such, but from time to time when I was feeling bored, I used to read some other newspapers, for example, the Telegraph. And I used to consult some online blog sites such as BBC Future, Psychology Today, Aeon.com, and others like that, Smithsonian, and all that.
Right. Another question we have is, how do you approach a passage? You are just smashing six reading comprehensions in 20 minutes. How do you deal with the difficult question in reading section? Do you also need to reread or refer back to the passage or for the answer?
All right. So before beginning, okay, in the English and logical reasoning section, I look through the questions before I read the passage. And I just underline. For example, they are asking if a question has a particular line quoted. So I underline that line and keep it in mind while reading the passage. If they are asking me the meaning of a particular word, I keep that word in mind and just underline it while reading the passage. So that helps quite a lot. Just go through the questions before you read the passage and keep them in your mind while you are reading the passage. Let them run through your mind along with the passage. So it you will automatically keep it in mind. Um, I would say an average passage took me about 2 to 3 minutes to read entirely, and the questions took around another 1 or 2 minutes, not more than that. Um, as for whether I had to go back, yes, when I began giving mocks, I had to go back quite frequently. But as I gave more and more mocks, my retention rate increased greatly, and by the end, I hardly had to refer back to the passage, because the more mocks you give, the better you get at it, and eventually, what you will reach a level where you just read a passage and the main idea just sticks in your head. So you're able to automatically know what the correct answer is. So you do not have to refer back after a point.
Right. Abhinav, so last question for the day. Is there anything in your CLAT preparation journey that you regret doing or not doing? Like, what is the one particular thing that you would want to do or not do so in order to score a 125 in this paper? Anything that you want to talk about?
All right. So through my entire CLAT preparation journey, right?
Yeah.
One thing which I wished I did not do was so after giving the second sample paper released by the consortium this year, I scored very, very well in that paper, and I got very, very satisfied. I got very satisfied with my score, and I lost all that drive which I had earlier. Nahi, I want to score more. I want to score more. I lost it because I thought, yeah, what's the point now? I've scored so well. I'm sure I'll do well in CLAT as well. And it worked for about a week. But after that, my scores just fell consistently for the next 1 month, and there was nothing which I could do to stop them. Like I was giving my best at mocks, but could not, I could not stop the reverse in which they were going. So don't one thing which you should not do is to be over satisfied with your marks. Like it's good to be happy that you do well in a mock, but not too happy. And conversely as well, it's good to be critical of yourself when you do not do so well, but not too critical. Like just think, ki, Okay, if you do very well, think it's a mock. This is not the actual paper. You have just done well in a mock. And if you do very poorly, same. Think it's just a mock. It's not the actual paper. You have just done poorly in a mock, not an actual paper. And another thing is, I think you'll just have to come to terms with it during your preparation. Ki there will be bad mocks. Ki you cannot score above 120 in every single mock. There will be mocks where you will underperform for some or the other reason. I think this happened quite a lot with me personally. Like what happened with me was one mock used to go very well and the next not so much. Then the next very well and the next one not so much. So I think you just have to come to terms with it. Ki okay, yaar, ki not every mock can go perfectly. Some mocks will go poorly, and you just have to make sure you do not beat yourself up too much over it.
Right. Right, Abhinav. So, any last piece of advice for our CLAT 2024 aspirants? Anything that you want to say to them?
Mm, I would just say be consistent with your preparation, no matter what strategy you follow. What matters most in the end is your consistency. Because, well, as we all know, CLAT is not an exam of your external knowledge. So, no matter how much you study, what matters most is the final day. So, be consistent with your preparation and just keep a very calm head on your final day. Do not panic. I cannot overstate this enough. Do not panic on the final day. Just keep a very, very calm head. And the feeling you get when you see hundreds of people at the test center is, I would say, bone chilly, because it absolutely frightens you. Yeah, oh God, so many people are giving CLAT, and the what is the most scary is hardly a few of them are familiar faces. So when you see, ki, oh God, so many unknown people are giving CLAT, it can be quite scary. So I would say what if you are able to be calm on the final day and keep your head with you, then you have already won half the battle. So I think what this matters the most, that you just have to keep calm on the final day, because ultimately those 2 hours will determine what where you end up.
Yeah, just to summarize what Abhinav said, please focus on your mental health. Please care for yourself. CLAT is an exam which requires you to have a calmer mind. A calmer mind is better than an intelligent mind for CLAT and ALET both. Please do not panic if you get a low score in mock. If do not be complacent if you get a good score in mock. These it is all a part of the journey. CLAT is not a sprint but a marathon. So you will see ups and downs, but you are not to take it to your heart. So thank you, Abhinav, for this amazing session. It was really a pleasure to have you
Thank
here.
you.
We are really honored to give you your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abhinav. Right. So thank you guys for listening to us. It was an amazing session with Abhinav, and I hope he gave you a lot of helpful tips that will that will prove to be fruitful for your CLAD 2024 journey. If you have any doubts regards to your CLAD journey, please feel free to reach out to us on Telegram. You must have heard about the program that we are running, a CLAT mentorship program. This is just run by exclusively by NLS students, and we'll be there to mentor you, to guide you for your CLAT journey. If you have any doubts regarding the program, please feel free to reach out to us. Uh, and I really hope that you found this session very enlightening. I personally found it to be very useful. Thank you so much. I'm here for 1 minute. If you have any doubt uh, regarding our initiative by the name of National Law Training Institute, or if you have any related doubts. Right. So I don't see any more doubts here. So I'll close this session. Uh, Saurav Kumar, the Telegram link is given in the description box. You can scroll down a little and you can see the Telegram channel link. Soumya, what is the ideal time limit for improving mock scores from 50s to 90s? There is no ideal time. If you work hard, you can even achieve that in a month. If you And it's not about working hard, it depends on you and your reading speed, your comprehension abilities. Some people cannot reach to their 90s even after 12 months of preparation. Some manage to reach 90s from 50s within like 2 months. So it totally depends on you and the effort that you are willing to put in. And there's no normative answer to this question, what's the ideal time limit. Saurav, I think this session answered most of your queries of how to go about CLAT 2024 preparation. If you joined us late, you could please scroll back a bit and you will find answer to your question. Right, guys. So thank you so much. I'll be closing the session now. Thank you so much for joining in and listening to us patiently. Thank you so much.